Good morning. It is time to skip the BS. It's time for Undisputed. It's time to talk Dallas. No, not them. Dallas Mavericks, the NBA's hottest team. Sudden threats to, dare I say, win the West? We will talk Dallas Cowboys and their do-nothing owner in just a few minutes here on the show. We will debate LeBron raving about his iconic Game 7 chase-down block. And we will talk about Jake Paul saying Mike Tyson won't be able to bite his ear off if Paul knocks Tyson's teeth out. I like that line. That was clever. And we will very soon on today's show talk about why LeBron is having a career year from three, biometrics. And Russell Westbrook saying he's the NBA's best bench player. And he's proud of that? Really? And Calipari calling the Hogs for the first time. Will they answer? But first up, I say good morning to Keyshawn Johnson and Paul Pierce. How are you, gentlemen? Here we go. Here we go. And we dive into Luka and Kyrie and a Mavericks team that pretty much dominated the Heat in Miami last night, and they were playing back-to-back, both teams. But Mavericks won for the 16th time in their last 18 games. That's pretty good, 16 out of 18. So, Paul, Keyshawn doesn't think the Mavs really have much of a shot against the Clippers in their first-round playoff matchup, which is already set. Are you seeing a team in the Mavericks that will go home early or later in the playoffs?
I think they can beat the Clippers.
I do too.
I think we're watching the best scoring duel in NBA history.
I agree.
I mean, when you see what Luka's doing, we already know who Kyrie is, probably the greatest one-on-one player. If you have a one-on-one competition, I'm taking Kyrie. and so, yeah, I know the Clippers beat them a couple years ago. They didn't have Kyrie. But since All-Star break, they've been one of the best defensive teams.
They have.
Ranking opponents' field goal 8th. Mm-hmm. They're scoring better. I mean, they have all the ingredients of a team that can get to the finals. And you have a top-5 player MVP candidate, arguably the best player in the league. You have experience, Kyrie's championship experience. And so I do believe the Mavs have a shot.
Yeah.
If I have to choose between them and the Clippers, I'm taking them right now because I don't know. It's uncertainty of Kawhi right now.
Yeah.
We just know the flame-outs of players in the playoffs that just don't come up big. You know, there's times where
James Harden.
James Harden, we've seen that from him.
How many
George.
times?
So I got more faith in a Luka-led and Kyrie-led team.
Yep.
So they got the ingredients, Skip, to get to the finals, I believe. They got the ingredients, but can they keep it together and play consistent enough? Because nobody's going to stop them. They got to be able to defend at a high level in the playoffs if they're going to go far. But as far as getting out the first round and beating the Clippers, I think they will.
They got an opportunity and a chance, especially if Paul George is not at full strength. I mean, Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard's not at full strength. I give him an opportunity. But if the Clippers' deck is stacked and they got all their stars aligned, they're not going to beat them. And I know 2020, 2021, different teams, though.
Very different.
Yeah, it was different teams. Luka was there. He's a long man standing. But for the most part, those teams are over with.
Especially Dallas is way different.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's a different situation.
Different identity.
When we talk about flaming out for James Harden, because that's going to come up, he doesn't play big in the playoffs. We're talking about the first round. We're not talking about the second, the third,
no, I mean, that's
the
fair.
finals.
I got it.
We're talking about the first round. And when you look at his first round statistics and you look at what he's been able to do in the first round of the playoffs, he's James Harden. He's been James Harden. So I don't get all spooked about whether or not he's going to show up. His role is different now.
Yeah, that's true.
His role is different.
True.
Westbrook's role is different. We're going to talk about that later on.
We are.
And Paul George has carried this team a couple years ago, the Clippers, not this constructed team, but the Clippers minus Kawhi Leonard. He took them all the way to the Western Conference Finals.
3 years. He was,
so he has the ability.
He was outstanding.
He has the ability to be able to do that. Now, look, I know that the Mavs had gotten slightly better after All-Star break. Okay. First of all, look at the opponents that they were playing. They were not playing no juggernauts in these 16 or 18 games that they've won. There's really not any. I mean, you could maybe cherry pick, hand pick 3, 4 good teams in that mix, but for the most part, it was layups. It was teams that was on the borderline of play-in, teams that were not making the playoffs. Those are the type of teams that defense increased against. Now you're going up against a high-octane offense that can score. You got 3 dudes, if healthy, now this is all about an that can score and match point for point. You say, okay, well, you can cancel whatever, Luka out with Paul George, and you can cancel Kyrie out with Kawhi. But now you still got X factors. You got a high-octane Speedy Gonzalez and Westbrook that can give you a whole bunch off the floor. And then on top of that, you still got to account for James Harden. And defensively, who you going to stop? That's my whole thing. Who you going to stop defensively? They have a shot. Everybody has a shot. I just don't think I think they come up short.
I think this will be the most exciting first round, though.
I am so with you. I can't wait. But
More exciting than the Lakers and the Nuggets, if we get there?
But we're just talking about it's as exciting a first round as you can ever remember. I mean, every matchup all the way through the play-in is unbelievable.
You got star power in this.
Yeah.
I mean, you got elite scoring in this. I'm talking about James Harden. I mean, at his best, Kawhi, Paul George, Luka.
Stacked.
Kyrie. I mean, you got 5 of the greatest scorers in one series.
Now that you just said that, I wonder what the average scoring
at their peak. If you just look at all of them at their peak of scoring,
28 points a game at their peak.
All right, Keyshawn, I think you've been watching Dallas. I don't think you've been seeing what you should see.
Okay.
Something has changed dramatically there since they added P.J. Washington and Daniel Gafford at the trade deadline to the starting lineup. And by the way, that kid out of Duke who's 7 feet 1 inches tall, Derek Lively, was giving them some hustle and muscle for a while, and he's been out with a knee issue. And I'm not sure if he's back for the playoffs, but maybe. But it doesn't matter at this moment because what they did last night to what is still a very dangerous Miami team at home, and I know both teams were back-to-back, but I look up early on, and Dallas is ahead by 25 at Miami. It's hard to do because they're a proud bunch, man, especially at home. Miami, going into that game, was averaging at home 112 points a game. They managed to score 92 points last night. That's 20 points below their home average. You got to see what you're seeing. You got to believe what you're seeing because that means Dallas is playing at least a semblance of defense. And I told you yesterday, the stat over the last 18 games is Dallas is holding its opponents to 44% shooting. That's number 1 in the NBA over the last 18 games. And if you want to give me nobodies that they're playing, give me nobodies. But it's still the NBA.
Where would Miami be if they was in the West?
Where would they be?
Out of the play-in.
I don't know, but I wouldn't mess with
out of the skip.
Hey,
the guy just told me to my left, out of the play.
Yeah, but
you're telling me about the Miami team where Jimmy Buckets had 12 points. He only shot 8 times.
Okay.
They'll be right at the cusp.
Maybe that's because of some defense. So I'm seeing a Luka and a Kyrie who made peace with each other. And I don't know. It took a long time because I'm going to remind you, last year, this team won 38 games and missed the playoffs. Now they're a 50-win team, which should at least put Luka in the MVP conversation. And if you want to discount him because he's got that sidekick who sometimes is the one to his 1A on any given night.
Everybody got a sidekick.
Okay, but this is the sidekick to me. They have made some kind of connection where after on Sunday night, they stormed back from 20 down to beat Houston, albeit just Houston. But they did that. They scored 148 points, and they left the court arm in arm, if we can see this. And
they look like they're having fun.
Yeah, Jason Kidd's brought this up a couple times because he thought that was real. You can laugh at it and say it's all for show, but we haven't seen that before. I didn't see it any last year because there was no way they're doing that last year because they were wary of each other. They were eyeing each other in the fourth quarter. Is it your turn or my turn? And all of a sudden, they have figured out how to play together and to respect each other and to vibe off each other. And when they're doing that, they are as dangerous as it gets. Now, if you will allow me to, I got to talk about Daniel Gafford because nobody else is talking about him. You realize in the month of March, he went on a roll and made 33 straight field goals in NBA games. It's hard to do to make 33 in a row because he was just one short of the record of Wilt, 34 in a row. As we speak, he's now made 22 in a row more. So he's gone from 33 in a row in March, and now he's on a streak where last night he was 6 out of 6. That boosted him up to 22 in a row. field goals made. He is running away with the percentage from the field this year. He's 73% of his shots he's made from the field. Again, they acquired him at the trade deadline. He'd bounced around, been a bit of a journeyman, but even for his career, he shoots 71%. So Luka trusts him. Luka will give him shots that last year Luka wouldn't give anybody. And P.J. Washington has brought them a veteran banger presence. He just knows how to play basketball, and he plays grown man basketball. He plays strong, and all of a sudden those two have solidified the starting lineup. And then you got Kleber coming off the bench with Dante Exum and Tim Hardaway Jr. and Josh Green and maybe Lively. And all of a sudden they're looking like a 10-deep team that is going to be a threat to win the West. If they keep playing at this level, it's hard to beat them when they're playing defense like they're playing defense. And maybe it's just a semblance of defense, but they used to play no defense. Now it's clear they're taking pride in that end of the floor. I just think they're legit as they can be because Luka looks like he's grown up before your very eyes. Last year, he was a pouter. He was a whiner. He was a diva. He'd sulk. He'd, okay, you got Kyrie, let him close the games. And now it looks like he's growing up. It looks like, remember, he just turned 25 years of age a month ago, so he's just a month into his 25th year on this planet, and he looks like a veteran to me now. He plays veteran basketball. And Paul, I don't know if you've ever seen anything like him. He actually has an old man's game to me, and it works. He's just hard to time up. He's hard to defend because it's herky-jerky, and he's doing things somewhere on this plateau that no one's ever done them before the way he's doing it. He's just hard to defend, and he's going to get you a triple-double almost every game because that's what he's been averaging through this streak. He's going to get you 10 and 10 along with 30-odd points.
Yeah, they got a chance. He's the only one. When I look at the Western Conference, he's the only one that can offset the Joker, just numbers-wise. You could say like you have them in a matchup because they lined up second round. If they see each other, they both win. Denver wins, obviously, the first round along with Dallas. If they match up, and this is what's talked about all the times, if you got two superstars that can kind of take each other out the game, then what's left? You got Kyrie now versus Jamal Murray. 38, 10, and 10. You figure Luka can offset that. And there's nobody else in that Western Conference that can do that. So say you take away Joker's numbers, now I need the rest of y'all to show up. They can play with Denver when you got a player like that. Like, I don't see nobody, LeBron, I don't know. Who else can offset Anthony Edwards? They're not going to put up the same numbers as Joker. So
a healthy AD could.
I agree.
Maybe he can neutralize. Yeah, he can give you a 30-15 game. I mean, it won't match the assists. But you talk about a guy who can completely take his numbers and offset them. Now you're left with the rest of these matchups. Can Dallas other players win their matchups versus the Denver Nuggets when you do the math?
That's why I said can they win the matchups against the Clippers, a healthy Clipper team. That's why I said when you when you go around and you look at the three main cogs for them, let's just say Kyrie.
Luka can offset two of them.
Let's say Kyrie and Luka can offset Paul George and a healthy Kawhi. But you still got to defend and deal with James Harden. Whether you like him, his style, his clubbing, whatever it is, you got to find somebody for him. Then you got to find somebody for Speedy Gonzalez in Westbrook. You got to find somebody for that. That's hard. You mentioned Jamal Murray and Luka. I mean, Jamal Murray and Joker. But then they still got to figure out what to do with Portis if he get hot. Not Portis,
Michael Porter Jr.
If he gets hot.
Aaron Gordon.
And then Aaron Gordon if he gets hot.
Needs Luka, though. I mean, Aaron Gordon needs Joker. That's his connect.
Yeah, but I'm saying, though, they still run deeper than Dallas.
Yeah.
Luka would have to score, in my opinion, he would have to have just crazy performances on the record-breaking
He just got to be average. You know what his average is? 35. 9 and 9. Average. That's a down night. If he's great, it's a problem. If he's great, if he's greater than 34, which he usually is, he's usually a better player in the playoffs than he is in the regular season, then it's going to be a problem for the Clippers. And that's why they're a contender. They have an MVP caliber player, if not arguably the best player in the league. And I can see them making a deep playoff run. I don't know what's going on with Kawhi. It's like, I feel like we get to this point every year with the Clippers, Paul George and Kawhi. I don't know if they're going to be healthy. It's like the same song, the same story every year you go. It's like a repeat. And so I don't know. I don't have the faith, so I got to go with Mavs. I got more trust. I got more trust in Luka and Kyrie this year.
They
look
health
different.
Is always a problem.
And this is the time of the year that you want to be playing well, and they're probably the best. They're playing the best basketball of anybody in the NBA.
Why, when we get here, Kawhi just all of a sudden fall apart? Literally every year feels that way.
Yep. Okay, so Joker was extraordinary last year, especially in the fourth quarter, as they did it again to Minnesota. And when it's time for them to play, they play. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, they look like they're going to have the 1 seed, and we'll go deeper into them in just a few minutes. But it's hard to argue against Joker for MVP because he's doing it again at the same levels that he's done it before. But again, I stress to you, Luka has improved dramatically from 3 and the free throw line this year. He was 34% from 3 last year, and all of a sudden he's 38. That's a big jump, and that makes him much more dangerous when he's hitting that shot. His free throws, he used to be awful. He was 74% like LeBron, and now he's up to 79%. That's a 5% boost. That's pretty significant. And you look at, again, the team, they missed the playoffs with 38 wins. Now they got 50. So then you got Shai Gilgeous in Oklahoma City. They made the playoffs last year, the play-in, with 42 wins. They're up to 55 wins, okay? And it's a lot about him, even though they got a nice young team. But, Paul, of those 3, can you still – it's very close to me.
It's closer.
Joker is just tried and true. It's hard to argue against him because he just keeps doing the same thing every year, and you just say, well, I give it up, you know?
Joker is the popular pick for MVP, and I've gone back and forth over the last few weeks, and then I watched like the game last night, and I was like, wow, he sold up the MVP. But when I dive deeper into it, I can't believe what Shai Gilgeous is doing. Like, seriously, bro. Like, who's his second best player? J-Dub? Jalen Williams?
Yeah.
Is this or Shai?
Giddy is pretty good.
Who's their second? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So when I look at the MVP caliber players or the guys who are in the talks, who's Luka's second best player? He has Kyrie to lean on.
He does, and so that it's almost like it disqualifies him.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And then when I look at the Joker, Jamal Murray, he has him to lean on.
Yeah,
I mean,
he hadn't had him all year.
He hasn't had him for a lot of portion of the year, but they're not the same caliber as those guys, what I'm saying. So I'm thinking that Shai has less to work with.
He does.
He has less to work with than these other guys who we talk about in the MVP conversation. So I'm so back and forth with it because beginning of the year, my expectations for Denver was like, oh, they'll probably win the West. My expectations for Dallas was like, oh, they're going to be a playoff contender. My expectations for Oklahoma City was like, I don't know, they might be a play-in team coming into the season. Yep. Now they're fighting for the number 1 seed. I mean, you have to give Shai an argument there. So,
you know, the more you talk, Shai probably should get the edge.
He should, really, right?
Just on just the magnitude of the achievement. He came back, he missed a couple of games. The other night he comes back and scores 40.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he should get it. I don't have preseason. Where did you have Oklahoma? Where did you, like, preseason, you probably had them, oh, they'll make the playoffs. No. Now they're a contender. Like, Shai really should be MVP when you look at it like that.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. So
we did it right. We did a topic on April 1st, April Fool's Day. It's like April Fool's, Oklahoma City's in first place in the West.
Yeah, okay? So, like, when I look at those factors, and I know I said Joker, but I have to rethink this, like, Shai checks all the boxes. Top team in the league. Statistically,
he is. Yeah.
Look what he's doing, 30 a game. And then when I look at his supporting cast, and this is not a knock to their supporting cast, they don't get the shine that they should get. And maybe one day Chet will be an all-star or Jalen Williams will be an all-star, but they're not right now.
No, he's doing more with less, but I feel like Joker has the momentum because he's carrying it from a year ago. He just won a championship. I mean, and he's a baller.
Because people know who he is.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oklahoma's not on national television. Nobody talks about it. I'm not in the streets and I see a Shai Gilgeous jersey on. you know, only in Oklahoma.
Joker got commercials now.
Yeah, Joker. So maybe that is the guy, man. Now that I think about it, I tweeted last night. Joker probably sold up the MVP because he dominated the best defensive player supposedly in the league.
He scored 41
on 80% shooting.
Oh, yeah.
So
you got to help. You got to educate me one day on him being the best defensive player because
I mean,
every time I watch him, it looks like people get buckets over him. He get cooked every time. Every time I don't get it though. But you got to educate me. You got to pull me to the side and just educate me because every time I'm watching him, I'm like, this is the best defensive player.
Yeah, I don't know, but so
Wemby looked like the best defensive player to me.
I think he is. I think Wemby should be defensive player of the year. I mean, this guy gets numerous 8 blocks a game on multiple occasions.
Nobody's afraid to go down low on Rudy
He just stopped
Gobert.
a 3-on-1 break.
They're scared to death to go in the paint on Wemby, and Wemby 100 pounds. They just won't do it.
Yet the Spurs have by far the worst record in the West, by far.
It don't have nothing to do with his defense because he's an intimidating, imposing factor in the middle.
They go up, they go, oh, I think I'm gonna just keep going to the other side.
Yeah. All right. We did the Dallas Mavericks. Now it's time for the Dallas Wow Boys. The Cowboys are stuck in the contractual mud. Jerry, are you awake?
SiriusXM is the audio home for Fox Sports and FS1 shows.
What's up, family?
Hosting some of the biggest personalities